first thing I noticed was, there's so many college students here, and I think sometimes there's lacking a sense of community within the college students, places to hang out, kind of stay out of trouble. Just, I guess, more of a sense of community within the community and the college.
The roads are pretty terrible around the neighborhoods, for one, and the sidewalks are not even walkable, really.
Maybe get the people living here more involved with the university and vice versa. Just have more things kind of blending them together so we can get to know each other. So
they probably need to be a people person, for one. You got to actually care about your city, opposed to all the other mayors. I'm sure I really don't know too much about the mayors that previously were in office, but I would assume.
Hello and welcome to Studio 122. I'm your host, Christopher Manguel, and today we're here with Dr. John Bellotti in his run for mayor of City of Commerce. And also, just to let you know, we had opened the invitation to another candidate that was running for mayor. His name is Kobe Markham, but he declined our invitation to our show today. But thank you for coming on, Dr. Bellotti. How you doing?
Nice to be with you.
All right, so Dr. Bellotti, can you tell us about yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Originally, I'm from Northern California, Bay Area, and I went to the University of Wyoming, got my undergraduate degree in broadcasting. I worked in radio and TV in Northern California for about 10 years, sold insurance for a few years. I went back to graduate school and got my master's and PhD in communication, speech communication. My PhD degree is in political communication.
Okay, so Dr. Bellotti, why do you want to run for mayor of Commerce?
It's kind of an interesting story. It's an evolutionary process. I've been here 10 years, and I'm not sure how many times I've been on these programs. I know the first year I was here, I was on, and we talked about the university and the city. In living here in 10 years, I've made a lot of friends. And one of the things that's happened over the course of time is it's easy to notice infrastructure in the City of Commerce needs to be looked at. I'm on a committee that was trying to make Bonham Street a historical society, a historical mark in the city. And one thing led to the other, and it got close to election time, and one of the members of our committee said, why don't you run for city council? And somebody said, well, the mayor's not running, why don't you run for mayor? And so it was kind of a grassroots evolutionary type process.
Okay, so speaking of that committee, what committee are you a part of?
On the city or the university?
Both, if you can speak on
Well, in the university, many committees. The graduation committee, the parking, transportation committee. I'm on the faculty senate. I've been on for 8 of the 10 years I've been here. I'm chairman of the executive committee of the faculty senate. And then in the town, our local, the Bonham Street Historical Association.
Okay. And so what are some of the things that motivate you to want to run for mayor?
Well, I've kind of been interested in politics since I was very, very young. We got our first television about the year that Dwight Eisenhower and Adlai Stevenson ran for president the first time. That was in 1952. Mm-hmm. So I got involved, and I thought politics was kind of interesting and followed along. When I worked up in Illinois for 6 years, I ran for alderman from my district for ward a couple of times. And I think being involved in politics is important, and it cuts two ways. There's people that say, well, did you vote? No. Why? Well, because I'm not interested. Well, if you're not interested, then you can't respond. And I said, well, I don't think that's quite right, because if you didn't vote because you didn't like the candidates, or you didn't vote because you were too lazy to vote. So we have to look at that issue and find out what's the root for not voting, and then try to solve that problem.
Okay, and then speaking of some things, what do you think are the major issues in commerce that need to be fixed? Or?
Well, certainly, as I mentioned earlier, having lived here for 10 years, infrastructure is certainly a problem. The sidewalks around my neighborhood, some were built 96 years ago. They had the date on them, 1918. And then others were built in I think 32, by the same Mr. McKittrick and his organization, and they've worn a lot over the years. I can tell you this, there's no skateboarding on the sidewalks in Commerce.
Oh yeah, no, that
And,
seems
and other
pretty
things like
dangerous.
streets, street repairs and things. But once again, we're dealing with a city manager type of government. So the mayor of the city can suggest ideas and work with the city council to try to propose options that we think we can do. But we can only the only money we have is what the city manager says we have to spend.
So how do you feel the relationship between the city manager and the mayor is right now?
I haven't spoken with Mr. Clayton or Mayor Throckmorton about their personal relationship. If you go to the city council meetings, I try to attend them as often as I can each month. There seems to be a symbiosis. I don't think there's any particular fighting going on. There's other issues between the mayor and the city, but I'm not running against this mayor or the city. I'm running against my opponent in this particular race.
Yes, sir. Okay, and also, Dr. Bellotti, can you speak on some, let me see how to say this, as far as like dealing with the relationship with the school and the city? I know they have both have a great relationship, and as far as I know, you deal a lot with the school and both the city. How do you maintain to bridge that gap?
I think it's interesting because I have worked at a number of universities and certainly gone to graduate school. At the University of Wyoming is an integral part of Laramie, Wyoming. In fact, during the home football games, when the football stadium in Laramie is full, that's the second largest city in the state. So the university and the city work well together. I was up in Illinois, Norman, Oklahoma, at the University of Oklahoma, and the symbiosis between the university and the city has to be tight. And certainly I think coming from this particular seat at the university, knowing Dr. Jones, as I mentioned in an interview with Caleb, I have the opportunity to know both the city's largest employer, Dr. Jones, and the city's second largest employer, Mr. Cooper, who's the head, the superintendent of Commerce ISD.
Okay. And so, Dr. Bellotti, if you get elected, what are some of your goals
Well,
for the
I
City
think-
of Commerce?
Right. I think what we need to do is first of all look at the infrastructure and see what we can and can't do to try to beautify the city. One of the problems that's happened is we get people that move in here and maybe work here but live someplace else. What we need to do is to try to make the city amenable to faculty and people that are moving in here, so they'll move here, work here, stay here. And I think that begins with trying to beautify the city.
Okay. And then if you can describe this journey for running for mayor, how would you describe it?
Mine?
Yes, sir, your personal.
As I said, it started with this committee that I'm on, and we started talking about running for city council, and then it kind of evolved. It was more of a grassroots type process. It wasn't that I just woke up one morning and said I want to be mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just this group that I'm in said, well, you could represent us. Why don't you think about it? And so over a period of time and talking to friends and family, it takes a lot of time. And certainly I wanted to find out from the university, and I talked with Dr. John Mark Dempsey, who's head of the Mass Media Communication Theater Division, of which I'm a part,
Yes, sir.
if he thought there would be a problem, and he said he didn't think there would be. So I kind of did my own searching around to find out if it was possible. And then we have, I think any candidate has an idea of what they want to try to do, and mine has been to build the symbiosis between the university and the city, and to work on beautifying the city, to make it more amenable to faculty that may be moving in here to work, to try to stay.
Yes, sir. Well, Dr. Bellotti, we would like to thank you for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
And you just heard from Dr. Bellotti. And also, just to let you know, we had invited the invitation for Kobe Markham to be on the show, but he declined. But we want to wish Dr. John Bellotti the best of luck on his run for mayor. And stay here for more Studio 122.